Have you ever heard of a tank that was so powerful, so ahead of its time, yet it became the very reason thousands of soldiers suffered on the battlefield? This is the strange paradox of the Patton tank, a story not just about steel and fire, but about ambition, pride, and the price of progress. It all began in the aftermath of World War II. The United States, standing victorious, yet wary of a new enemy, the Soviet Union, wanted a tank that could dominate any future war. The generals wanted something fast, the engineers wanted something strong, and the politicians wanted something that looked unstoppable. So, in the late 1940s, they built it, the M46 Patton, a beast of iron, named after General George S. Patton himself, the man who once said, "Wars may be fought with weapons, but they are won by men." Ironically, the tank that bore his name would test that very idea. When the Korean War erupted in 1950, the M46 Patton was sent to the front lines, confident, shiny, and roaring through the muddy hills of Korea. American soldiers felt untouchable inside it. Its cannon was fierce, its armor was thick, and its name carried the legend of one of the greatest generals in history. But soon, reality struck. The hills of Korea weren't friendly. The ground was soft, the roads nearly non-existent. Tanks designed for the plains of Europe were now climbing steep mountains, sinking into rivers, and breaking down under freezing storms. Soldiers began to realize something strange. The stronger the tank was built, the more fragile it became in nature's chaos. Engines overheated, tracks snapped, fuel vanished faster than they could carry it. And worse, its heavy armor made it a target so visible, so loud, that the enemy could hear it long before it appeared. The paradox had begun. The Patton was powerful, yes, but it demanded everything in return: fuel, maintenance, perfect terrain, and men who believed in it, even when it failed them. In the freezing winter of 1951, entire battalions were stranded because their tanks froze overnight. Some soldiers said it felt like the machine was turning against them. The steel coffin, they called it. But despite the failures, they didn't give up. They adapted. They learned to fight with the tank's flaws, not against them. They found ways to heat the engines with burning rags, to repair broken tracks in the dark, to drag the wounded under its shadow for cover.
When the Korean War ended, the Patton tanks limped back home, scarred, dirty, and full of lessons written in oil and blood. The U.S. military had seen both sides of their creation: the strength that crushed enemies and the weakness that nearly crushed the men inside it. But instead of giving up on the design, they decided to perfect it. And thus, the Patton lineage was born: M47, M48, M60, each generation more powerful, more advanced, more intimidating. By the 1960s, the Patton wasn't just a tank, it was a symbol, a rolling fortress of democracy, a statement to the Soviets that the West was ready for anything. Yet, beneath all that armor and pride, the same paradox still lived. The M48 Patton was introduced during the Cold War, heavier, faster, and packed with a 90mm gun that could pierce almost any tank of its era. But, like its ancestor, it came with hidden flaws. The gas engine was a monster, powerful, yes, but it drank fuel like water. In the scorching deserts or humid jungles, the heat inside was unbearable. Then came Vietnam, a place where tanks didn't belong: thick jungles, muddy rivers, invisible enemies. But once again, the Patton was sent in. And once again, men discovered what the brochures didn't say. Tanks that got stuck in swamps, tracks jammed with roots, engines roaring so loud they gave away positions before the first shot. American soldiers used to joke, If the jungle doesn't kill us, our own tank will. But something fascinating happened there, deep in those green shadows. Despite everything, the weight, the heat, the noise, the Patton earned respect. Because when the ambushes came, when bullets rained from every direction, it stood like a steel guardian. Infantry would run behind it, cling to it, fight beside it. It was no longer just a vehicle, it was a brother. Some soldiers even painted names on it: Faith, Freedom, Mother's Fury. They knew it wasn't perfect, but they also knew it was the only thing between them and death. And so the paradox deepened. The tank that symbolized human arrogance had become a monument to human resilience. It taught its crew how to fight smarter, how to survive when everything went wrong. By the time the Vietnam War ended, the Patton had changed again. It evolved into the M60, a new generation, ready for new wars. But this time, the world was different. Technology had begun to dream of perfection. Missiles replaced cannons, computers replaced instincts, and in that race for the ultimate war machine, the Patton's ghost whispered a question, one that still haunts every general, every engineer, every soldier. At what point does progress stop protecting us and start destroying us?
The story of the Patton didn't end with the Cold War. It simply changed shape, from iron on tracks to pixels on screens, from roaring engines to silent drones. But its paradox never died. By the 1980s, the M60 Patton had become the backbone of dozens of armies around the world. It was used by the US, Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Iran, and many others. Each nation modified it, improved it, claimed it as their own, yet all of them faced the same truth. No matter how strong a machine becomes, its fate depends on the people who command it. In 1973, during the Yom Kippur War, Israeli Pattons faced off against Soviet-made T-55s and T-62s in brutal desert battles. The skies burned, the sands melted under the fire of tank cannons. On paper, the numbers were against Israel. They were outgunned, outnumbered, surrounded. But skill, courage, and tactical genius turned the tide. Israeli tank crews using M60 Pattons destroyed hundreds of enemy tanks in one of the most shocking armored victories in modern history. Once again, the paradox was alive. The same machine that had failed others became a hero in the hands of those who truly understood it. Years later, in the Gulf War of 1991, the last of the Pattons rolled into battle again, facing Iraqi Soviet-made armor in the deserts of Kuwait. They were older, slower, and technologically outclassed by the new Abrams tanks, but still they fought, and some of them survived. The Patton tank, born from the ambition of post-war America, tested in Korea, scarred in Vietnam, and reborn in the Middle East, had finally completed its journey. It had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. It had taught armies that perfection on paper means nothing without grit on the ground. It had reminded the world that strength is not found in metal, but in men. Because behind every tank, every weapon, every machine, there is a heartbeat. A soldier who hopes to see home again. A mechanic who prays the engine starts in the cold. A commander who must decide who lives and who dies. And maybe that's the real Patton paradox, that in our search to build machines of war, we keep discovering the soul of humanity instead. So the next time you see an old rusted tank in a museum or buried in the sand, remember, it's not just a relic, it's a witness, a reminder that no matter how far we advance, the cost of power is always written in human courage. Thank you for watching Battle Echoes. If this story moved you, hit the like button, subscribe for more forgotten tales of history, and tell us in the comments,
What story, what battle, or what paradox would you like to see next? Your ideas shape the next episode.